At 7:03 p.m. Las Vegas time, Tupac Shakur passed away, y'all.
Trouble-plagued rapper and actor Tupac Shakur is dead at the age of 25.
Rap star Tupac Shakur died last night after a brief life in a rough business.
Shakur was shot 4 times after leaving the Mike Tyson boxing match in Las Vegas in a car driven by Marion Suge Knight, the head of his label, Death Row Records.
The murder of rapper Tupac Shakur remains one of the most famous unsolved cases of all time. At the peak of his career, the 25-year-old musician and actor was shot dead, right on the street, in the middle of Las Vegas. The violent death of the star sent shockwaves far beyond the rap scene. To this day, the case remains unsolved, although there have been continuous developments, and even an arrest in connection with Tupac's murder in the fall of 2023. Investigators are still left with unanswered questions, perhaps forever. Even though there are people who must know exactly what happened during the attack on Tupac on September 6, 1996, these individuals remain silent. One thing is certain: Tupac's success brought enemies. This case delves into the dark side of the U.S. rap scene, gang rivalries between the East Coast and West Coast, and conflicts with other musicians that may have turned deadly.
The East Coast don't love Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg. The East Coast ain't got no love for Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg and Death Row. Y'all don't love us.
Any artist out there want to be an artist and want to stay a star and don't want to have to worry about the executive producer trying to be all in the video, all on the record, dancing. Come to Death Row.
It's also about what happens when a single cultural phenomenon takes shape. But the ultimate question remains: who killed Tupac Shakur?
Tell me, what does Tupac Amaru Shakur mean?
Okay, it means, I was named after this Inca chief from South America whose name was Tupac Amaru, but it's a lot of people named Tupac Amaru. It's like a whole tribe named Tupac Amaru. So my mom named me after this Inca chief, and I think that the tribal breakdown means like intelligent warrior, something like that. But
I see.
He's a deep dude.
Tupac Amaru Shakur was born on June 16, 1971. Along with his half-sister, Tupac grew up with his single mother. While there was a stepfather in the picture, he was sentenced to 60 years in prison for a bank robbery. Both Tupac's stepfather and his mother, Afeni Shakur, were members of the Black Panther Party, an organization advocating for the black community and socialist values. However, their activism sometimes led them to cross legal boundaries. During the early months of her pregnancy with Tupac, Afeni was imprisoned. She was accused of planning a bombing in support of the Black Panther Party. She was arrested and spent several months in jail before giving birth to Tupac in New York. Tupac, his half-sister, and his mother lived in modest conditions until the family moved to Baltimore. Tupac would later describe his time in Baltimore as the happiest period of his life. He had access to a rich cultural and artistic environment, as his high school focused heavily on the arts. He explored poetry, ballet, theater, and increasingly rap music. During this time, a 17-year-old Tupac gave an interview reflecting on his childhood, offering a glimpse into the thoughts of the young artist.
No, actually, I think it's, well, okay, from my mother's point, well, if you grew up happy, too happy, you know, like in fairy tale land, not fairy tale, I mean, if you grew up where, you know, every Christmas you got a present and every birthday you got a present and every holiday was a holiday and everything was peachy, your parents took care of everything and you just grew up. I don't think that prepares you for the world. You know, my mother had a really bad childhood and my father had a bad childhood and I had a bad childhood, but I love my childhood. Even though it was bad, I love it. I feel like it's taught me so much. And I feel like nothing can faze me. You know, nothing in this world, nothing can surprise me.
But just a few months after this recording, Tupac's life took an unexpected turn. In 1988, his family moved once again, settling near San Francisco. Looking back, Tupac later admitted that this was when he began to stray off course. The creative freedom he had enjoyed in Baltimore was over, replaced by the harsh realities of their new life.
I wanted to go to college. I went to school all the way and was ready to go to college. The only thing that stopped me was money. The time all the kids in my school was writing applications to go to college, I didn't have no lights and no electricity.
At this time, Tupac's mother Afeni was struggling with severe drug addiction. Their relationship became strained as she spiraled deeper into her dependence on crack. Tupac, despite resenting his mother's addiction, started earning money through drug dealing himself, associating with questionable individuals. Life for the family was much harder compared to their relatively peaceful time in Baltimore.
They got Little Italy, Little everything. They don't have a Little Africa, they got the ghetto, and we think that that's ours. That's not even ours. That's just what was left over.
At the same time, Tupac began making small steps into the music industry. What had started as an interest in rap had now blossomed into a true passion. This genre allowed him to combine his love for two passions, dancing and poetry, giving him a unique style. Tupac not only had undeniable talent, but also managed to build valuable connections over time. Although his early performances were mostly small gigs in local clubs, his stage presence was hard to ignore. By 1991, Tupac's talent and determination began to pay off. He became a backup dancer for the rap group Digital Underground. Later, he contributed his own raps to the group's songs. His potential didn't go unnoticed, and soon the young artist was on his way to becoming one of the greatest rappers of all time. Tupac signed a contract with Interscope Records, a major label, and released his first album in 1991. From that point on, everything seemed to move quickly. The album became a massive success. Tupac not only gained widespread recognition through his music, but also landed roles in several films. Over the next few years, he sold millions of records and transformed from an artist into a cultural icon. Tupac's music didn't just shape rap, it influenced pop culture as a whole. His lyrics often reflected his difficult past and addressed political and social issues, resonating deeply with young rap fans and much of the black community. For many, Tupac's songs captured the spirit of the times. Others, such as the conservative Vice President Dan Quayle, criticized his work. However, such controversies only fueled Tupac's rise. Nearly every rapper performing today has likely been influenced by Tupac, whether they realize it or not. On the personal front, things improved for Tupac as well. His mother, Afeni, completed a successful rehab program, and their relationship became closer than ever. In his 20s, Tupac had not only built a thriving career, but also restored his bond with his mother. In 1996, he fell in love with his girlfriend Kidada, and the two soon became engaged. But Tupac's success came with a darker side. He never fully left behind the violence he was exposed to in his youth. Time and again, he found himself in the headlines, whether for threats, fights, or public outbursts.
Said there were two sides to Tupac, the wonderful side and the not so wonderful.
In 1992, during an autograph signing at a festival, a physical altercation broke out. Allegedly, Tupac pulled out a firearm but dropped it on the ground. When the gun hit the ground, it discharged. The weapon was registered in his name, and he was legally allowed to carry it. However, about 90 meters away from the festival grounds, a 6-year-old boy was playing in a schoolyard. That day, he was struck by a bullet in the forehead and tragically lost his life. The police traced the bullet to Tupac's weapon. Edie, who was present during the incident, shared his memories of that day in a 2017 interview.
I felt terrible, and I felt even worse because it was the first time I seen Pac cry since we was kids.
Oh, he cried?
Yeah.
All of you were questioned by the police, I assume?
Mm-hmm.
But they ultimately never found who did it?
Nope.
But Pac sort of got the blame for it?
Of course. I think he got sued.
Tupac claimed that someone from his entourage had accidentally discharged the weapon, while trying to pick it up from the ground. His stepbrother came under suspicion, but no evidence was found to implicate him. As a result, no charges could be filed. However, a legal dispute followed with the boy's family, and Tupac eventually paid a six-figure settlement for damages. In 1993, Tupac was arrested again after shooting at two plainclothes police officers. The details of the incident remain unclear. Some accounts suggest Tupac acted in self-defense, while others claim he was the first to draw a weapon and shot the two men following a dispute. The officers, however, gave conflicting statements. In the end, both parties agreed to drop all charges. In 1994, 2 years before his death, Tupac was critically injured in a shooting. The incident occurred while he was at the Quad Studios in Times Square, New York City. The building was attacked, and Tupac was struck by 5 bullets. Despite suffering life-threatening injuries, he left the hospital in a wheelchair just 5 hours after undergoing emergency surgery that saved his life, against doctors' advice. In an interview a year later, Tupac publicly claimed that the attack at Quad Studios was a deliberate setup. He accused producer Sean Combs, known as Puff Daddy, and rapper the Notorious B.I.G., also known as Biggie, of being aware of the plan to ambush him during his time at the studio. In another interview, Tupac recalled the traumatic experience of the attack. "I fell to the ground. Everything in my head was telling me, Pac, play dead. But it didn't matter. They started kicking me, hitting me. I never said don't shoot. I was silent as hell." In February 1995, Tupac was accused of sexually assaulting a female fan. Ultimately, he was not convicted of rape, but was sentenced to prison for sexual harassment. After serving 9 months, he was released on bail, which was set at $1.4 million. The bail was paid by none other than Suge Knight, the head of Death Row Records. In exchange for this financial support, Tupac agreed to release 3 albums under Suge Knight's label. This marked the end of Tupac's time with Interscope Records, the label that had released his debut album. The switch to Death Row Records is often seen as the moment when Tupac's fate was sealed. It's September 7th, 1996. That evening, the MGM Grand, one of the most famous venues on the Las Vegas Strip, is hosting a boxing match. Mike Tyson is set to face Bruce Seldon. Tupac is in the audience, attending the fight with Suge Knight, his fiancée Kidada, and members of his entourage. By the afternoon, fans are already gathering outside the venue, not just admirers of boxing legend Mike Tyson, but also Tupac's fans. Rumors circulate that Tupac will be at the event. Tupac spends the afternoon at a casino, where he wins a significant amount of money. The fight itself is brief. Mike Tyson defeats Bruce Seldon in just 109 seconds. By 8:30 p.m., spectators begin pouring out of the MGM Grand onto the streets of Las Vegas. Tupac and Suge Knight also leave the venue. However, in the MGM Grand lobby, a confrontation breaks out. Around 8:50 p.m., Tupac, Suge Knight, and their entourage get into a fight with members of the Southside Compton Crips gang. The brawl allegedly starts because of Suge Knight's affiliation with the rival mob Piru gang. The mob Piru and Southside Compton Crips are enemies. Rumors swirl about the specifics. According to one account, a Crips member, Orlando Anderson, had stolen a Death Row Records chain from someone in Tupac's entourage, leading to the altercation. Surveillance footage from that night shows Tupac and Suge Knight engaged in the physical fight. Another version suggests that someone from Suge Knight's entourage had been beaten by a Crips member weeks earlier and had told Tupac about it. Tupac allegedly initiated the confrontation. By 9 p.m., Tupac and Suge Knight leave the MGM Grand and return to the motel where Tupac is staying with his fiancée and cousin. Tupac changes clothes and tells them about the fight, boasting that he fought like Mike Tyson did in the ring earlier. Later, Tupac and Suge Knight head to an after-party at Club 662, a venue owned by Knight. Tupac is scheduled to perform there that night. The two get into Knight's car alone. Tupac's bodyguard tries to join them, but Tupac stops him, telling him to ride with the others in a second car. Tupac mentions he and Knight need to have a private conversation. Rumors suggest that Tupac was considering leaving Death Row Records at this time, despite the support Suge Knight had given him when he posted his bail. At 11 p.m., police briefly stopped Suge Knight. The music blasting from his car is too loud, and the vehicle lacks license plates. However, Knight is allowed to drive on. Just minutes later, one of the most infamous murders in recent history occurs. Around 11:15 p.m., Knight's car stops at a red light on Flamingo Road. A car carrying a group of young women pulls up next to them. The women chat with Tupac before driving away. Moments later, a white Cadillac pulls up beside Knight's BMW. It is the car in which Tupac Shakur's murderer is sitting. Someone inside the Cadillac opens fire on their car. A total of 13 shots are fired. 4 bullets hit Tupac, 2 in the chest. Suge Knight is grazed by shrapnel but remains conscious. The attack lasts only a few seconds before the Cadillac speeds away. Suge Knight makes a U-turn, driving west on Flamingo Road. At Harm Avenue, the car finally comes to a stop. By 11:20 p.m., police and paramedics arrive at the scene. One police officer later recalls the moment he opened the car's passenger door. The critically injured Tupac fell out onto the street. Though conscious, his condition was clearly life-threatening.
And I looked at him and I said, "Who shot you?" And he looked at me and he was trying to get his breath together, and I thought I was going to actually get some cooperation. So he looked back at me and he said, "F you." And after he said that, his eyes kind of rolled back, he started to gurgle, and he lost consciousness.
Before we continue, I'd like to ask you to leave a like and subscribe. This video took me many hours of work and very detailed research to create. Especially during this early phase of the channel, your support would mean a lot to me. New videos come out every Sunday. Now, back to that tragic night. Tupac and Suge Knight are immediately taken to the nearest hospital. Tupac needs emergency surgery right after arriving. Due to internal bleeding, doctors remove his right lung.
He's had a right lung removed. He's back in his room, and again, he remains in critical condition. He's in the intensive care unit.
Is he conscious? Can he communicate with his doctor?
He has been conscious. He is under a lot of medication, so he's pretty sedated at this time. He's severely injured. Suffering multiple gunshot wounds is obviously a terrible insult to the human body. So he's in very critical condition, and he's requiring intensive care, and he is receiving that right now.
A second surgery takes place on the afternoon of September 8th. Suge Knight, with only minor injuries, is discharged from the hospital on the morning of September 8th, while Tupac continues to fight for his life. The rapper's injuries are so severe that he is put into a medically induced coma. According to media reports, doctors estimate Tupac's chances of survival at 50-50. Family members and close friends rush to his bedside and stay with him day and night. They keep watch outside his hospital room, fearing someone might try to harm Tupac further. Meanwhile, the police attempt to question Suge Knight after his release. However, Knight avoids cooperating with the investigators. Sergeant Kevin Manning from Las Vegas, who is leading the investigation, expresses his frustration to the media about the slow progress of the case. He especially criticizes the lack of cooperation from Tupac's and Knight's entourage, who were present at the scene of the attack on Saturday night. At the same time, tensions escalate further. Members of Tupac's circle, who the police claim are connected to street gangs, get into a fight with law enforcement. 4 of his friends are handcuffed and taken away, but are later released. 5 days after the shooting, there's another death. A member of the Southside Compton Crips gang is shot while sitting in his car. Rumors spread that this killing was revenge for the attack on Tupac. Authorities secure Tupac's hospital room to prevent any further incidents. Suge Knight finally agrees to be questioned by Las Vegas police. However, he claims to have no information about the attackers or the circumstances of the shooting. Tupac spends a week in the hospital, but remains in critical condition. He is on life support and suffers repeated seizures. On September 13, 1996, the life of the influential musician comes to an end. Doctors report the cause of death as respiratory failure and cardiac arrest. Tupac Shakur dies at the young age of 25.
He was like 1 year older than me. You know, he was only 25 years old. We was like, what the fuck?
Although news of Tupac's critical condition had been circulating for days, the reactions to his death are overwhelming. Even outside the rap scene, people are shocked by the violent death of the musician. The idea that a music icon could be shot in public and the shooter escape is incomprehensible to many. Just about 2 months after the attack on Tupac, a witness to the crime dies. Yaki Gaddafi. On September 7, 1996, Gaddafi was in the car driving behind Tupac and Suge Knight. Gaddafi was part of Tupac's entourage. Not just a friend, but also his cousin. On November 10, 1996, Gaddafi is shot in an apartment in the state of New Jersey. It is later reported that Gaddafi may have witnessed the attack on Tupac closely. Allegedly, he even saw the shooter and made eye contact with them. However, he never gave a statement to the police. The exact circumstances of Gaddafi's death remain unknown to this day. Almost exactly 6 months after Tupac's death, another rap icon is killed. On March 9, 1997, Tupac's major rival, the notorious B.I.G., also known as Biggie, is shot and killed in Los Angeles. Like Tupac's case, Biggie's murder was never solved. The rapper was only 24 years old. To this day, countless rumors and legends surround the deaths of both Tupac and Biggie. Many focus on the question of how these two murders might be connected. We'll explore this topic in more detail in the next chapter. But let's take it step by step. After his violent death, Tupac Shakur is not forgotten. If anything, the tragic murder only cements his legacy. To this day, the murder of Tupac remains one of the biggest pop culture phenomena in the world. Even now, Tupac's music is streamed millions of times, documentaries are made, and books are written about him. Again and again, the media focuses on the same question. Who killed Tupac, one of the most successful rappers of all time? In 2018, the Netflix series Unsolved, The Tupac and Biggie Murders is released. The series sparks renewed interest in these two mysterious murder cases.
Everyone seems to think they know what actually happened. Anyone who was actually familiar with Tupac or the case as it actually went down back in 1996, they say that the case is simple, and the reason that we don't have an answer 27 years later, depending on who you asked, is it just is delayed, whether it comes to, you know, young black men or people of color not being tried fairly by law enforcement, or depending on the other side, they'll call it street justice and the fact that people don't want to snitch.
Over the years, conspiracy theories about Tupac's death have surfaced time and again. One of the most persistent rumors is that the rapper was never actually shot and is still alive.
Because Tupac not dead. Tupac not dead.
Interestingly, one person who has repeatedly fueled this theory is Suge Knight's son. Like you already know, the man who was in the car with Tupac when the shooting happened. In 2019, Suge Knight's son seemed to embrace this well-known conspiracy as a promotional tactic. Through Instagram stories, he frequently hints that Tupac is alive and working in a studio on new songs. It appears he uses the attention from these claims to boost his own attempts at breaking into the music industry. Reports of Tupac sightings from outsiders also emerge from time to time. Even after many years, the idea that Tupac faked his death to escape fame and live a quieter life remains popular. However, the more intriguing and concrete question is who might have killed Tupac. You might have heard that someone was arrested in connection with the case in late 2023. Still, it's widely believed that Tupac's murder was far more complex than a simple act of violence. Over the years, the police handling the case have faced heavy criticism. Some even suspect a conspiracy involving the Los Angeles Police Department. In fact, there are several aspects of the investigation that appear to have been handled poorly or incompetently. In 2017, reports surfaced that the weapon used to kill Tupac was found back in 1998 in a backyard in Compton, a suburb of Los Angeles. However, it seems that no one in law enforcement knows the current whereabouts of the gun. Allegedly, a local resident discovered the weapon in Compton and immediately turned it over to the local police station. It wasn't until 2006 that an officer noticed a significant detail about the location where the gun was found. While reviewing the police file on Tupac's murder, investigators realized something startling. The address where the gun was discovered matched the home of a girlfriend of a member of the Compton Crips. This is the same gang that Tupac had a physical altercation with shortly before his death. That same year, ballistic testing confirmed that the recovered gun matched the weapon used to kill Tupac. Following the investigation, the gun was supposed to be sent to the Las Vegas Police Department for further examination, as Tupac was killed in Las Vegas, and the case fell under their jurisdiction. However, the Las Vegas police reportedly doubted that the recovered weapon was truly the murder weapon, even though the Los Angeles police had confirmed the match. Years later, a team of investigative journalists tried to track down the weapon to determine whether it was in Las Vegas or Los Angeles. Unfortunately, their efforts were unsuccessful. Neither police department claimed to have the gun in their possession. Since then, the murder weapon has been considered lost, deepening the mystery surrounding Tupac's death. The investigation into the murder stalled quickly back in 1996. Police attributed this to the extreme lack of cooperation from witnesses. At the time, and still today, police violence against black people was a complex and sensitive issue. Many rappers addressed this problem in their lyrics during the 1980s and 1990s, bringing these conversations into mainstream culture for the first time. In many disadvantaged African American neighborhoods, people followed what is often referred to as the code of the streets. This code reflects the tense relationship between the community and law enforcement. It may also be one of the key reasons why we still know so little about Tupac's murder today.
You said the shots came from the back. Big Dre, Orlando. Who shot Tupac?
They keep for the code of the streets. It just came from the backseat, bro.
At the same time, rumors persist that some of the officers involved in the investigation had close ties to Death Row Records, the label owned by Suge Knight. Despite the lack of information about the weapon, its brief appearance in the case does provide a connection to the Southside Compton Crips. A girlfriend of a gang member lived at the location where the gun was found 2 years after the murder. We also know that Tupac had a confrontation with members of the same gang just hours before he was shot. This connection was already considered a promising lead by the police in the 1990s. In September 1997, just 1 year after Tupac's murder, a young man named Orlando Anderson files a lawsuit against Tupac Shakur's estate. Anderson claims he suffered injuries during a fight with the rapper at the MGM Grand and demands compensation for pain and suffering. During the brawl, Anderson was knocked to the ground as several people from Tupac's and Suge Knight's entourage assaulted him. In response to Anderson's lawsuit, Tupac's mother Afeni Shakur files a wrongful death lawsuit against him. She accuses Anderson of being her son's killer. Afeni Shakur is not alone in her suspicion. Over the years, multiple police officers have publicly stated they are confident that Orlando Anderson was the one who shot Tupac. The murder of Tupac may have been an act of revenge for the fight at the casino. Adding to the tension, Suge Knight, who was with Tupac that night, had connections to a rival gang. However, like many key figures in this case, Orlando Anderson is no longer alive. On May 29, 1998, just 2 years after Tupac's death, Anderson is killed in a gang-related shooting in Los Angeles. Until his death, he consistently denied being responsible for Tupac's murder.
Is it Orlando?
Yes.
Let me just ask you point blank, did you kill Tupac Shakur?
I didn't kill Tupac. I mean, I don't know why, you know what I'm saying? They would even say something like that.
That being said, significant new developments regarding Orlando Anderson emerge in 2018. However, it takes 20 years for this information to come to light, leaving the case shrouded in speculation in the meantime. In the 1990s, the US rap scene is defined by a fierce rivalry between the East Coast and the West Coast. Death Row Records, owned by Suge Knight and home to Tupac, represents the West Coast. On the other side is one of Tupac's most prominent rivals, the notorious B.I.G., or Biggie, who is signed to Bad Boy Records, an East Coast label. Over time, Tupac and Biggie engage in several verbal exchanges, a common practice in rap battles. However, some believe the rivalry between them went far beyond music. Shortly before his death, Tupac released a diss track aimed at Biggie. Tupac's bodyguard was deeply concerned about this move, fearing retaliation from Biggie or someone in his circle.
Tupac's latest song, Hit 'Em Up, is a scathing attack on rapper Biggie Smalls and other figures from the East Coast hip-hop rivalry. It's more than a serious problem for the bodyguard.
I confronted Pac and asked, "What's with the song?" And he said, "Have you heard it? It's hot, right? They're playing it everywhere in all the clubs. It's going to be awesome, blah, blah, blah." And I said, "Buddy, you seriously need more security. I won't be able to handle you alone anymore."
Just days before his murder, Tupac attended the MTV Video Music Awards, where he was asked about his feud with Biggie during an interview alongside Snoop Dogg. Although he made some silly remarks about Biggie, Tupac downplayed the seriousness of the conflict.
This is our family. We peacefully coexist right now because we all cool. Everybody's here. They sell records. We sell records. Well, I guess you could call that selling records. What they do, we sell large amounts of records, and they sell a few records. And really, it's no competition. People are really making too much out of it than it is.
Interestingly, before Biggie's rise to fame in the mid-1990s, he and Tupac were close friends. Tupac supported the younger rapper and helped him break into the music industry. Their friendship ended in 1994 after Tupac was attacked and shot at a recording studio. Tupac accused Biggie of being involved in the attack, though Biggie consistently denied the claim. Many believe this incident was the starting point of their bitter feud, and is why Biggie is still mentioned as a possible suspect in Tupac's murder. There are also rumors that Sean Puff Daddy Combs, now known as Diddy, allegedly paid the Southside Compton Crips to carry out Tupac's murder. However, there is no solid evidence to support this claim, and Biggie himself had an alibi for the night Tupac was killed. As previously mentioned, Biggie was murdered just 6 months after Tupac. His case also remains unsolved. The East Coast versus West Coast rivalry looms large over these events, and one man often considered the wedge between Tupac and Biggie is none other than one person. Many point to him as a central figure in the larger conflict that led to these tragic outcomes. His name, Sean Combs, P. Diddy, also known as Puff Daddy. The rivalry between Tupac and Biggie extends beyond the two rappers themselves, encompassing the figures behind them. Suge Knight, head of Death Row Records, has an openly hostile relationship with P. Diddy, who manages Biggie. With Biggie's rise to fame following his debut album, P. Diddy gains significant influence in the rap industry. Suge Knight, feeling his own power threatened, doesn't hide his animosity. Suge frequently targets P. Diddy in public, and after one such incident, Suge's bodyguard is murdered. Suge accuses P. Diddy of orchestrating the killing, but the case remains unresolved to this day. In the context of Tupac's murder, P. Diddy's name is often brought up as a possible mastermind. As Biggie's mentor, Diddy may have had a motive to eliminate Tupac, his protege's biggest rival. According to some theories, Diddy allegedly offered members of the Southside Compton Crips $1 million to carry out the hit on Tupac. This theory is taken seriously, even by some investigators. You might remember that the altercation between Tupac and Orlando Anderson in the casino stemmed from a stolen chain. Orlando had allegedly stolen the chain from a member of Death Row Records, Tupac's label. There's a rumor that P. Diddy had placed a $15,000 bounty on any chain belonging to Suge Knight's label. While this claim remains unverified, it's an intriguing piece of speculation in light of the theories about Diddy's involvement. P. Diddy himself has remained silent about these allegations. When asked in interviews, he consistently avoids giving detailed answers. He neither confirms nor outright denies the rumors, leaving the public to speculate. Some believe that Suge Knight himself orchestrated Tupac's murder. The theory is that he owed Tupac a lot of money. Because of these debts, he and his record label were sued by Tupac's mother in 1997. Additionally, Tupac was reportedly planning to sign with another record label. Suge Knight personally invited Tupac to the boxing match, and then offered him a ride in his car afterward, despite knowing that their professional relationship might soon end. In theory, Suge could have arranged for Tupac to be eliminated to avoid paying him the millions he owed. According to a police officer involved at the time, there's no record showing that Suge Knight was actually injured during the attack. There are also no hospital or police records regarding the supposed shrapnel wound he claimed to have. Currently, Suge Knight is serving a 28-year prison sentence, but not for Tupac's murder. In 2015, Suge Knight killed 2 people. You might know the film Straight Outta Compton, which explores the 1990s rap scene. Suge Knight feels that the movie portrays him unfairly. In January 2015, he encountered a man named Clay Sloan in a parking lot. Sloan had worked as a consultant for the film's producers. Suge Knight confronted Sloan, and the two got into an argument. Suge then hit Sloan with his car, injuring him. As Suge fled the scene, he ran over his former business partner Terry Carter, killing him. Now in his mid-50s, Suge Knight is often surrounded by rumors that he is seriously ill. Whether he will ever leave prison is uncertain. Before his conviction, Suge Knight made cryptic comments and strange statements in interviews about Tupac's death. Suge Knight's behavior seems to align with what the police say is the reason for the slow progress in the investigation. Witnesses in this case are extremely uncooperative. No one seems willing to speak with the police. However, there's one man who changed that, at least partially, but in doing so, made himself look highly suspicious. In 2018, after the release of a documentary, the Tupac case gained renewed attention. Numerous people began appearing in the media, sharing their opinions about what happened on September 6, 1996. Among them was a man named Dwayne Davis, also known as Keefe D. Keefe D claimed that he was sitting in the front seat of the car from which the fatal shots were fired at Tupac. He also accused his nephew, Orlando Anderson, of being in the backseat, along with another person. Orlando Anderson, a member of the Compton Crips, had long been suspected of killing Tupac. However, Keefe D initially refused to name the actual shooter. He wouldn't say whether it was his nephew Orlando or the other person, a young man called Big Dre. He justified his silence by saying he had to abide by the street code. Despite withholding a specific name, Keefe D shared numerous details about the night of the murder.
We came up Harlem, and here he coming at BMW. All the chicks was like, Tupac, and he was like a celebrity, like he was in the parade. He wouldn't even been out the window, we would have never seen him.
You said the shots came from the back. Big Dre, Orlando. Who shot Tupac?
To keep it for the code of the streets. It just came from the backseat, bro.
In the media, Keefe D openly boasted about being one of the few witnesses to Tupac's murder. In interviews, he freely recounted his version of events from September 6th. He even claimed that he had already confessed to police back in 2010, when he was facing a potential life sentence for drug-related charges. Yet, years later, Keefe D remained free, speaking to the media about Tupac Shakur's death. He also used these opportunities to promote his 2019 book, Compton Street Legend. In the book, he claimed that it was his nephew, Orlando Anderson, who shot Tupac. Keefe D admitted only to procuring the weapon and sitting in the white Cadillac. According to Keefe D, after the fight at the MGM Grand, the Compton Crips, particularly Orlando Anderson, wanted revenge on Tupac and decided to kill him. Of course, Orlando Anderson could no longer defend himself against these accusations. He was killed 2 years after Tupac's murder. In his book, Keefe D described the events of the shooting as follows.
One of my boys in the backseat grabbed the Glock and started firing out the back. As the bullets flew, I ducked down to avoid getting hit.
For years, Keefe D repeated his story in the media over and over, until it all came to an end in 2023. 27 years after Tupac Shakur's murder, Keefe D became the first person to be arrested in connection with the crime.
Breaking news just into CNN. Las Vegas police have arrested a suspect in connection with the 1996 drive-by shooting death of legendary rapper Tupac Shakur.
Hey, Keith, Metro Police, come over here. Hey, Metro Police, come over here, all right? Thanks, buddy. Come on over here. Appreciate your cooperation, okay? I'll stand right here in front of the car. Yep. Nope, go and put it down. I know, hang on. Put that down for a second, all right?
On the morning of September 29, 2023, Keefe D is arrested in connection with the murder of Tupac Shakur. When the police approach him, he doesn't even ask why he's being taken in. He willingly goes with the officers. 2 months earlier, in July 2023, the police searched the home of Keefe's wife, looking for evidence related to the Tupac case. During the search, they seized numerous tablets, iPhones, USB drives, computers, and photo files. The arrest of Keefe D is a major breakthrough. However, Tupac's fans agree that Keefe D wasn't the sole person responsible for the murder. Many still suspect P. Diddy to be the mastermind behind it, believing he hired members of the Compton Crips to carry out the killing. Suge Knight also spoke out about Keefe D's arrest in a surprising interview with TMZ. Following Keefe D's arrest, others in the industry also shared their thoughts.
Let's get one thing straight, first and foremost. Me and Keefe D played on the same Pop Warner football team. And whatever the circumstances, if he had an involvement with anything, if he didn't have any involvement with anything, who want to see, I wouldn't wish somebody to go into prison on my worst enemy. And I never had nothing bad to say about Orlando because, number one, he wasn't the shooter. Number two, he came to my hearing and told to let me go and told the truth. They still didn't let me go.
To summarize,
you are saying Orlando was not the shooter, although you won't say who the shooter was. You are not saying whether Keefe was involved in any way in the shooting, and you are saying that if you're called to testify by either side, you will not comply, you will not testify. Do I have that right?
1,000%. I wouldn't go, I wouldn't testify, none of that. At the end of the day, free Keefe D, free Keefe D, free Keefe D, free Keefe D.
Rapper 50 Cent, for example, posted the last known photo of Tupac on his Instagram. The image shows Tupac sitting beside Suge Knight in the car, just minutes before he was fatally shot. Underneath the photo, 50 Cent wrote, "Damn, so Pac got lined by Brother Love. LOL. Time to lawyer up. Shit might get sticky." Here, 50 Cent directly refers to P. Diddy, who is also known as Brother Love. Back in 2008, Keefe D reportedly claimed that P. Diddy had ordered him to kill both Tupac and Suge Knight. According to Keefe D, he supplied the murder weapon, while his nephew Orlando pulled the trigger. It'll be interesting to see if 60-year-old Dwayne Davis provides further details in court. If there's a breakthrough during the trial, I'll keep you updated. Don't forget to subscribe for updates. As Keefe D waits for his trial, the Tupac Shakur case will likely stay in the media spotlight. Hopefully, this marks the beginning of a full resolution to the case.
We look at death from a selfish side, like, that guy died, oh, it's so sad. Why is it sad? He's away from all of this bad stuff that's here on earth. At the worst, he's just somewhere quiet, nothing. At best, he's an angel, or he's at the next existence, or he's a spirit somewhere, What is so bad about that? It's only bad for the people who he left, because you guys are mad. That's like some crab in the bucket type stuff. It's harsh analogy, but that's what it's like, though.
In retrospect, how would you say that your life has been? What would you say about your life? How would you define it?
I would say it's been like a test on my faith. You know what I'm saying? You know how, I guess his name was Job in the Bible, who God just did all of this crazy stuff to him just to make sure his faith was straight. And that's how it was. It made me, if I didn't have all of this stuff, I don't think that my feet would have been so firm to where I could stand up for anything, and I would be less ready to deal with what's out.
Sadly, Tupac's mother won't witness any new developments. Afeni Shakur passed away in 2016 at the age of 69. However, countless family members, colleagues, friends, and fans are still waiting for closure. What makes Tupac Shakur's murder so unique is that the case is entirely solvable. There are still people who know the truth. Two of the key individuals present at the murder scene, Suge Knight and Dwayne Davis, are alive. And now one of them, Dwayne Davis, is set to face trial soon. The real question is, will either of them ever fully come clean? I'd also love to hear your feedback on this video. Do you want to see more content about unsolved cases? What's your opinion on this whole topic? Also, since this channel is still in its early days, I'd appreciate a like and a subscription. You can check out my last case here, Luigi Mangione, the man who shot a major insurance CEO in broad daylight, sparking chaos on social media. Is he a hero or just a cold-blooded killer? Check it out and stay safe.